Have you ever wondered how a simple story, just words on a page, explodes into this living, breathing spectacle on a stage? Well, today, we're going to dive right into that. We're looking at one of Shakespeare's absolute best, Much Ado About Nothing, to uncover the theatrical toolkit he uses to build these timeless dramas. So, how does he do it? It's not magic. Not really. It's a craft, and Shakespeare was an absolute master craftsman. We're about to pull back the curtain and look at his techniques, and you'll see how he carefully, piece by piece, builds an entire world using some very specific tools. Okay, so the core idea we're talking about is called dramatization. Really, just think of it as the ultimate rule of show, don't tell. Instead of having some narrator explain what's happening, the characters themselves drive the whole story forward with what they say and what they do. This is the foundation for, well, everything else we're about to get into. Right, so let's start with the most obvious tool in the box, dialogue. In the theater, dialogue is so much more than just people talking. It's the engine of the play. It's what reveals who the characters are, it pushes the plot along, and it sets the entire emotional tone of a scene. This exchange is just perfect. It completely captures what Shakespeare calls the merry war between Beatrice and Benedick. From the very first time they're on stage together, this witty back and forth, these clever insults, it tells us everything we need to know. They're sharp, they're independent, and there's this crackling energy between them that is just pure comedy. But dialogue isn't all fun and games. Not at all. Take this line from Beatrice. It comes right after her cousin Hero has been publicly shamed at her own wedding. And in that moment, her witty mask just shatters. This single, powerful cry shows us her rage, her sense of injustice, and her deep frustration with the limits placed on women. The exact same tool that made us laugh just a few scenes ago now creates this breathtaking dramatic tension. So the takeaway here is that dialogue is incredibly versatile. It can be a playful game, it can be a heavy discussion about a serious theme, or it can be a fiery, heated argument that creates massive conflict, like when Beatrice demands that Benedick kill Claudio. Each style of dialogue serves a totally different purpose. Of course, a play is more than just words, right? The next layer of Shakespeare's toolkit is all about the unspoken things. The actions and the stage directions that create the physical blueprint for what we see on stage. You know, stage directions might seem like a minor detail, but they are absolutely essential. A simple instruction like, "Enter Benedick alone," immediately tells us, okay, this is a private moment. We're about to hear his inner thoughts. And when the bumbling watchmen, Dogberry and Verges, show up, we know the plot is about to take a really important and hilarious turn. These little directions guide the entire visual story. And this is just a brilliant example of how physical action creates character development. I'm talking about the famous eavesdropping scenes. Both Beatrice and Benedick go through this exact same process. First, they actively choose to hide. Then they overhear this totally fabricated story about how the other one is in love with them. And finally, that information completely transforms them. We don't just get told they had a change of heart, we literally watch it happen. And sometimes, the most powerful action is also the simplest. When Hero is accused at the altar, what does she do? She faints. There's no big speech, no witty comeback, just she falls. A single, devastating physical collapse that tells us everything about her shock and her innocence way more profoundly than any words ever could. It's a moment of pure, powerful visual theater. Okay, so we've covered words and we've covered actions. Now, let's get into Shakespeare's secret weapons, the dramatic devices he uses to basically play with the audience, to manipulate our knowledge and our emotions. The biggest one of these is dramatic irony. You know that feeling when you're watching a movie and you want to scream at the screen, "Don't go in there!" It's because you know something the character doesn't. Well, Shakespeare is an absolute master of creating that feeling. Here's a perfect example. We, the audience, watch the villain, Don John, feed this huge lie to Claudio. We know it's a lie, but Claudio, he believes it, and it leads him to this really bitter conclusion about love. Our knowledge of the truth creates this incredible suspense. We're just sitting there, waiting for the whole deception to blow up. Another one of these secret weapons is the soliloquy. This is when a character is alone on stage thinking out loud. It gives us a direct, unfiltered peek right into their mind. It's pretty much the closest thing theater has to a first-person narrator. And this is absolutely critical for a character like Benedick. I mean, think about it. After he overhears that gossip about Beatrice, his soliloquies pull us right into his head. We get to follow his logic as he argues with himself and eventually decides to completely change his mind about love. Without those private thoughts, his transformation would feel sudden, maybe even a little ridiculous. But with them, we believe it. So we have dialogue, we have action, and we have these cool dramatic devices. But how do they all work together without it just being a big mess? Well, they're all held in place by what you could call the master frame, the play's structure. Shakespeare almost always uses the classic 5-act structure. It's like a roadmap for our emotional journey. It introduces the world and the characters. It slowly builds up the tension, it pushes the conflict to a breaking point, the climax, and then it brings everything to a satisfying finish. And that's the key. Every piece of witty banter, every dramatic collapse, and every moment of delicious irony is carefully placed within this structure to have the biggest possible impact on us. This structure controls the pace of the story and keeps us hooked from the very beginning to the very end. So there you have it, Shakespeare's theatrical toolkit. But let me ask you this. Which one of these tools do you think is the real puppet master here? Which one has the most power over our emotions? Is it the clever dialogue, the powerful action, or that manipulative irony? What do you think?